Ese Cholo.
All right, what's up, familia? Welcome inside the hotel room. Hope you guys are doing good. Keep in tune the lines. Got your load secure. Okay, so I was doing a one of my trucker lives. Um, I mean, I do them pretty often during the day, right? The only reason why I'm bringing this up is why I'm doing this video is because during one of those lives, I don't know. Usually, I go live like around noon or 1 or 2 uh, Pacific Standard Time, of course. While I'm in the truck. I just chop it up just about just anything, dog. I'll go ahead, play some audio, kind of have a good time while I'm in the truck. It's starting to get kind of hot, so probably gonna have to do it with the AC on now. And I was talking about female truckers, right? I was um, I was talking about female truckers, and then somebody had mentioned this thing that's going on, and I said, "Hey, you know what? We'll do that on another one, but I want to do it a little bit more correctly. I don't want to do it in a rush during one of my lunch breaks, right? So this is it right here, man. And I'll get to it in a second. For just a minute or two, we'll just go ahead and we'll just BS. If you guys are watching this in the archives, skip to the 5 minute mark and we will get to the subject at hand. Let me see. San Juan Blanco got pulled over on your phone. I don't know what you mean on your phone. Did you get pulled over while using your phone? I've never got pulled over from using my phone, man. So, um, let me see. I remember there was a guy. I did have to go to court one time, and there was a guy that was in there that he got a ticket because he said while he was at a red light, he picked up his phone and he looked at it and then put it down, and the Huda gave him a ticket for that. So but I personally, I've never gotten a ticket for using the phone. Plus, now with all the cameras inside the cabs and everything, it's pretty tough for the phone to be in your hand. Um, I got I got my nice little setup right there where it's hands free. So I mean, you definitely got to push everything that you want going down with it. But yeah, for you to have your phone in your actual hand like that, yeah, man. I don't know. It's gonna be kind of tough now because if something does happen, cameras got everything. The cameras got everything, man. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend doing that. Dog, I'm still kind of and we're hitting the 5 minute mark, but man, I'm still kind of feeling it on the WBC that happened, man. The United States lost to Valenzuela. And I'm just kind of like, damn, damn. I think I think baseball is more of a global sport than than basketball is. I remember hearing that basketball was becoming more of a global sport, but I'm like, I don't know. Maybe baseball is. I mean, obviously, soccer is the most global sport, right? But man, I think baseball is becoming a more global sport than basketball is because oh, those other countries, man, they got talent, and you got a lot of people from around the world, man, that play in the MLB. So, son of a bastard, man. All right, so let's go ahead. What do you mean CDO getting canceled? Well, let's go ahead. Let's get to it. All right. So, um, I've been trucking for 25 years now, right? And I remember when I first got into trucking, I first started pulling bottom dumps. And for those who don't know, bottom dumps, it's hauling dirt with the double trailers that open up at the bottom and the material comes down, whether it's dirt, base, asphalt, whatever it is, right? I've haven't done that in many years. I'm doing dry van now, but I've done so many things in trucking with tart line, flatbeds, doubles, reefers, just a lot of different type of trucking. I haven't done it all though. I haven't done it all. So anyway, um, when I first got into bottom dumps, I used to see a lot of the shadiness that used to go on, man. I saw a lot of the shadiness that really went on. There was dudes driving that didn't have a class A. There were dudes that were driving those trucks, man, that didn't have a license at all. Some of these guys didn't speak any English whatsoever. They just spoke Spanish. Now, at that time, I was pretty young and I didn't really care, right? I didn't really think anything of it because I speak Spanish. So I was just like, well, I can understand them. And I remember going to certain job sites and certain people complaining at the job sites, like, man, none of these guys speak English. And I never thought anything of it because I'm like, well, I understand them. So I didn't really care, dog. So to me, it was just whatever, right? And as a few years went on, I started noticing a lot of Asians entering the trucking industry. Now, those guys I did not understand because I don't speak their language, right? I don't even know what type of Asians, if it was Koreans, Chinese, Japanese, I don't know, etc. Right? So I had no idea. And I started noticing them getting more and more into trucking. And then I started picking up. It's like, oh, okay, these guys don't speak English. Now, when it was the Spanish speaking dudes, right? Regardless of where they came from, right? Mexico, Honduras, Guatemala, whatever it was, to me, I didn't care. I didn't, because I understand Spanish. I speak Spanish. So I'm like, well, I understand what they're saying. So whatever, right? I never once ever thought anything of it. Um, but when the Asians started coming in, I didn't understand them. And then it hit me a little bit differently. Well, I'm like, okay. And that's when I first really thought to myself, like, hey, how do these guys have a commercial driver's license? They don't speak a lick of English. Again, rewinding, right? It was with the Spanish speaking dudes that didn't speak a lick of English either, but it didn't hit me at that time because I understood them. Fast forward to the Asians that started getting into the market of of trucking. Now I kind of understood. It's like, okay, well, they don't speak a lick of English. They're speaking whatever native tongue they're speaking. And whenever I talk to them or whatever, they have no idea what I'm saying. And it's like, okay. And it did cross my mind a little bit, like, how do they get their license? How are they trucking it? How are they on the road if they do not speak any English? And I was just like, Tom, okay. And I noticed how many people didn't speak English, whether they spoke Spanish or whatever, Asian language they're speaking. And then maybe within the last, sorry, I'm on the road, so I'm in the hotel room. I gotta be up at 2 in the morning. Hey, what's up, Artie Familia? Okay. And then maybe within like the last 10 years or so, somewhere around there, right? I started noticing um, someone else coming into the trucking industry. And when I remember the Asians coming in, I remember them just getting into trucks and driving, and that was it, right? They were just driving, and like I said, I couldn't understand what they were saying, but to me, it just crossed my mind, like, how did they get a CDL? And I heard that they're able to take the test in whatever their native language is, and I just kind of thought, just for a quick second, to myself, like, okay, but how do they read the signs if they're in English? But I didn't really I didn't make us think of it. I didn't really care. I was just like, well, okay, I guess, whatever, man. If they're able to take the test, which, by the way, to become a truck driver, you take quite a few tests. All right. And if you're going to add endorsements, that's even more tests on top of tests. And I was just like, if they're going to take in their language, their native tongue, in their native language there, I mean, all the signs on the road, it's all in English. So, how I'm not really sure how that works, but okay. And then I started noticing a lot of Arabs, what you call, right? Truckers and everything, and the guys who in trucking, they call themselves Arabs and Punjabi and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't know, whatever though. And about 10 years ago, those guys started flooding the trucking industry like big time. I don't know what happened to the Asians. In all reality, I don't know what happened to the Asians. I really don't, because I don't really see Asian truck drivers anymore. I'm not saying there aren't any, but once upon a time, I'm talking about like in the maybe late 2000s or something, probably around 2006, 7 ish, is when I started seeing a lot of Asians coming to trucking. Fast forward, I don't know what happened to the Asian truckers, man, because I rarely see Asian truckers anymore. I got no idea what happened to them. Where did they go? I don't know. If you're an Asian trucker, reach out to me. I gotta get my boy Asian Mai up in here from Mother Trucker, dog, because he was an Asian trucker. He now runs one of the most successful trucking YouTube channels on YouTube. The guy is just on it when it comes to trucking news. He drops like 5, 6, 7 videos every single day of trucking news that's going on across the country. So maybe I should get him on here because I really got no idea what happened to all the Asian truckers, man. Because there was a lot. There was a lot of Asian truckers, and I don't know where they went because I don't see them. I don't see them anymore. Um, and these Punjabi guys, right? The Arab dudes, like in the last 10 years, they came into the trucking industry. The difference that I saw with them as opposed to the Asians and to the Spanish speaking dudes, right? Whomever it was, right? Mexican, Central American, South American, doesn't matter. The difference that these Punjabi guys did, they actually didn't just become truck drivers. They actually started businesses, and I'm not talking about just owner operators. I'm not talking about just just starting a fleet with one or two trucks and they drive the other one. Sure, I'm sure they did that as well, but they really sunk their teeth into the trucking industry. A lot of the when you want to go buy a truck, a lot of these dealerships, you'll find them there. They run a lot of those dealerships. These dudes were smart, man. These dudes were extremely, extremely smart. Go to a lot of these trucking dealerships. You'll find them there. They're running those dealerships. Not all of them, but a lot of them, they're running it. A lot, they started flooding a lot of the trucking industry. A lot of the trucking industry, being truckers, being in charge of trucking insurance. You go to a lot of trucking insurance to get trucker insurance, right? Some of those guys run that stuff. The dealerships, those guys run that stuff. These guys in the last 10 years, they really very smart on their part, man. They really sank their teeth into the trucking industry. They really did, man. You talk to a lot of brokers, you make phone calls and all that stuff, and you who's answering the other line? A lot of those dudes are. A lot of those dudes are, man. You know it right from the accent. And what I started noticing, that's when I started seeing a lot of these dudes, right? And thing, the same thing. A lot of them did not speak a lick of English. The difference with these dudes is that there was more of them than anybody else that I'd ever seen that didn't speak any English. Like zero. And I'm like, damn. It was not too long ago. I was making a trip from Texas to California, and I was stuck at the scales because I had to go in there to get a permit to go through the state of Arizona. And I was actually in there for over 30 minutes. Why? Because the guy in front of me, well, he wasn't right in front of me. There was another driver in front of me, but the guy in front of him was one of these guys, and he didn't speak any English. And they kept going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, trying to understand what this guy's saying. He's trying to understand what the clerk is telling him. He didn't speak any English. And I've been saying it for a long time. I've been saying it since as long as I've been on YouTube. Okay. I run into more and more and more truckers that do not speak a single lick of English. Now, a lot of people want to turn this into politics. A lot of people want to turn this to administration. Look, I don't give a damn. For the love of God, I don't care. I don't care where you stand on politics. I really don't care. Everyone's crazy but me. Everybody is crazy but me. All I'm talking about, I don't know. I'm not even talking about legal or illegal. I don't give a damn. All I'm saying, there's a lot of truckers on the road that do not speak any English whatsoever, regardless of what language they speak. But these guys really flooded the market, and a lot of these dudes really sunk their teeth into the trucking industry in ways that some other people did not sink their teeth into the trucking industry. And a lot of these guys were able to get to places in the trucking industry that like some of the Asians never got to. That some of the, I'll just call them, say, Hispanics never got to. And now you got guys that shouldn't be driving trucks. So now what's going on is that it first started with this whole, and I heard different numbers when it came to California, right? First, I'll start with the state of California. It all started with the state of California, where it's like, oh, okay, you know what? 13 to 17,000 are going to end up losing their license, right, in the state of California. Then I heard 20,000. That was a while back. Now it's fast forwarding into like, hey, 200,000 across the United States, right? Because they do not meet the standard. And there's so many stories out there, so many rumblings going on. Everybody's completely insane when it comes to politics, which I really don't give a rat's ass about. But it's going down to the whole, hey, look, a lot of these guys don't speak English. A lot of these guys, they got their CDLs illegally. Some of them got them legally, but their CDL goes past their permit that they're here to work for. So if they're only allowed to be here to work for 2 years, their CDL actually goes to 5 years. And how can you do that if they're only to be here legally working for 2 years, right? So let me just go ahead and play a little video. Now, this is actually from the state of California. This was actually not too long ago, but it's kind of what's taking place now coast to coast, man, with apparently 200,000 drivers. So oh, damn it. Let me see. Now my little mouse is a little screwed up here. I might have to do it this way. All right, let me go ahead and play this.
17,000 California non-domiciled commercial driver's licenses were revoked by U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. These licenses are specific to people who do not live in California, but operate here on work permits.
We discovered, and we reported this about a month ago, that many of these non-domiciled CDLs, the commercial driver's licenses that were given to foreigners, they were issued unlawfully.
Duffy said the Department of Transportation discovered multiple issues, including licenses given to illegal.
Okay, like I told you, when I first started trucking, Doug, I ran into drivers, man, that didn't even have a CDL doing those bottom dumps. I don't know if they could get away with that today, but I ran into truckers that did not even have a CDL. Now, did they work for a company? No, they worked for somebody. Either they had a truck of their own or they actually drove a truck for somebody else, right? So it was somebody that started their own truck and that got their own authority and said, hey, I need a driver for my extra truck. Guy comes in, do you know how to drive a truck? Yeah, okay. I'm you on that truck. Doesn't run anything, right? Do you have a license? Or I'm sure he knows. I'm sure he knows the guy doesn't have a license. Or if he's does, if he didn't know that the guy that driving his truck did not have a license, I mean, good gosh, dog, you're really not gonna check the guy if he doesn't have a license or not. But I ran into a small handful. I don't want to exaggerate, but I ran into a small handful of guys like that didn't even have a CDL.
Immigrants, a person having no driver's license at all, and drivers who do not meet the English language requirements.
That right there. Okay, listen. Again, I don't give a damn about your politics. I don't care about this, illegal, not illegal, whatever the heck, man. You guys keep fighting each other over that. Pull your swords out and keep fighting each other over that. I don't give a damn. Whether you're here legally or illegally, I don't care. Do you speak English? I don't care if you're here legally. I don't care if you're born and raised here. If you do not speak English, dog, you should not be driving a big rig. You should not be driving a big rig. I don't care if you're an American citizen. I don't care if you're born and raised here. If you do not speak any English. I work for a company, and you're probably thinking that I'm exaggerating, but no, I work for a company. I don't know if I should put it out there, but this company, they haul cement bags on a flatbed. Okay, I'll just leave it at that. The dude that was training me, the guy that trained me for that, his name was Alonzo. The guy doesn't speak any English. I found that odd. I'm talking to him in Spanish, right? Because the company asked me, do I speak Spanish? I said, yes. He said, okay, I'm going to put you with Alonzo to train you. Because whenever you go work for a company, they got to train you. It's just not, hey, do you know how to drive a truck? Good, get in that truck and go. Unless you're with a trucking agency, but you need to learn the paperwork. You need to learn how the product is moved, how it gets unloaded, things of that sort. And training could just even last for like a day, right? Some last like 2 weeks, probably even more. But so I jumped on there, and lo and behold, this guy doesn't know any this guy doesn't know any English whatsoever. So I'd asked him, where's he from? I was thinking he was going to say somewhere from Mexico, somewhere from, Salvador or whatever. This guy's from Yuma, Arizona. Yuma. How do you not know English? He never went to school. You never went to school? No, he never went to school. He just helped out his parents and the little ranch that they had. I thought that was odd. So, okay, I guess it does exist. I'm sure it's a very, very low percentage, but I guess it does exist that you are born and raised in the United States and don't know a lick of English. Okay, that guy should not have a commercial driver's license. So that was odd to me.
Who is taking drivers in, seeing if they speak English, and then testing them on basic skills that would allow them to be certified to then go to the DOT to get a license?
Governor Gavin Newsom posted on X, accusing the transportation secretary of spreading falsehoods to please the president. A spokesperson for the governor said that all 17,000 drivers had legal presence and had been granted work authorization by the federal government. One Fresno trucking school reports.
This is where everybody gets crazy. And if you're on the left, you want to get at the right. If you're on the right, you want to blame the left. Take each other's swords and keep on chopping each other's heads off, because I really don't give a crap. I'm talking about trucking.
Feeling the effects of this battle.
Came Monday, we had absolutely no students.
And works to comply with state and federal regulations.
They show us their legal work documents. They show us their visas or their work permits that are issued by the government. And that's what we go by.
We spoke with owner-operator Independent.
Okay, I'm gonna say this. Look, I never went to trucking school. I never went to trucking school. When I first got into trucking, you didn't have to. You didn't have to get. You didn't have to go to trucking school. Okay, you could just learn on your own. You go, you take the test, right? The written test, and then you're able to go take the behind the wheel test. Now I'm not sure what year that changed, but it wasn't too long after I got my CDL where now yes, you do have to go to a trucking school. You have to go to a trucking program. You have to go get some sort of training. You just cannot go take the test and just say like, hey, I know how to drive a truck. I learned, my uncle taught me or something. It's not going to work anymore. But I will tell you this. I say that to say this. I did not go to trucking school. However, I've heard time and time and time and time again that there is a lot of trucking schools that are very shady. That as long as you pay them, right, they'll just go ahead and Mickey Mouse it, pass you, and it's like, okay, you're good to go. You want to pay just a little extra? All good. We'll get you your license.
Independent Drivers Association, and they said both sides are
Back
spoke
up.
with owner operator Independent Drivers Association, and they said both sides are to blame.
We don't do the proper things to make sure folks we put behind the wheel have the proper training, have the proper licenses, have the proper language skills. We're not doing any of these things. We're just turning folks loose on the highway, for lack of better terms, and hoping that bad things don't happen.
One truck driver in training.
I've heard that many times, even when it comes to some of these schools. Now, I know there was one school in Fontana, California that got shut down because of it because they were doing some really, really shady stuff. And word was really getting around about that school, and they had to shut that sucker down, man. I don't know how many drivers got their CDL through that school, but I mean, I'm sure they shut the school down. But what about all the drivers that got their license through that school?
Training encourages any new drivers to get proper instruction.
Take all of your tests, take your tests on time.
By the way, these trucks that they're training you on, I mean, this is as simple as it gets,
Don't
man.
happen.
One truck driver in training
Gosh, look how small that truck is. I mean, just let me see, going back to showing, those are the trucks.
works to comply with state and federal regulations.
They show us their legal work documents.
I mean, those are the trucks that they're training them in. They're very small, two-stroke trucks, as small as you can get. I don't know what size that trailer that is, but it is very, very small. And once you get your CDL, I mean, you get your CDL, and now they're going to put you in, a three-stroke truck. Who knows if it's a long nose? It's definitely going to be bigger than that, depending on what you're doing. That's for like super duper duper local driving right there. But I mean, if you're going to do other type of trucking, you're going to be hauling a 53-foot trailer. Now the backing up and everything's kind of the same, at least as long as you know how to maneuver it. But gosh darn it.
Of these things. We're just turning folks loose on the highway, for lack of better terms, and hoping that bad things don't happen.
One truck driver in training encourages any new drivers to get proper instruction.
Take all of your tests, take your tests on time to make sure you understand what you're doing. And hopefully when you go back and do your exam, you're ready to go and you're that much safer on the road.
Okay. All right. Let me go ahead and take that down. What's up, Denise? Okay. So that was actually a few months ago. Now fast forward to what's going on now, right? Where what they're saying, about 200,000 across the United States are getting canceled. Now, to the best of my knowledge, they're not actually getting canceled, right? What's going to happen is that through time, these guys are going to end up losing their CDLs. How so? Well, they really can't cancel them just by pushing a button that says delete. What's actually going to end up happening when it's time for them to renew their license, or if they go to the DMV for whatever reason, if they want to go in there to update their license or update their, their picture or their address or whatever it may be, they're not going to be able to do it. And once their license once their license expires, they're not going to be able to renew it. So are we losing 200,000 truckers all at once, just like that? To the best of my knowledge, to my understanding, no, we're not. It's going to be slowly filtered out as their license comes to their own expiration date, that they're not going to be able to renew it. So, um, again, I've been talking about this for a long time, man. I've been talking about this for a long time. Legal, illegal, I don't give a rat's ass. Do you speak the language? Do you have the proper training? That is it. That's all I really care about. And some of these schools, I don't know who really audits these schools, but somebody needs to be on top of it. Somebody needs to be on top of it, because some of these guys coming out of trucking school, they really don't know what the heck they're doing. Even the ones that do speak English. Now, I can't really come down too hard on the ones that are training, because it's like, listen, who wants to be a trainer? I don't. I don't want to be training. I didn't get my CDL to start training and teaching other people how to drive a truck. I don't want to dedicate my trucking career to that. But I remember I was looking to get a job many years ago after I got out of the trucking agency. I was looking to get a job, and I think I had been trucking for about 5 years. And the guy teaching me had just a little under 2 years experience. And I'm like, okay, you have under 2 years experience and you're teaching me. But again, who wants to be doing that job? You're really going to have to pay some of these teachers, because if somebody tells me, look, in my personal opinion, nobody should be teaching anybody with I was going to say a minimum of 5 years, but in reality, I think you need more than that. But like I said, who wants to be doing that? I've been trucking for 25 years, man. I don't want to go start teaching anybody. Get me off the road so I could dedicate my life to start teaching other people how to drive. That's not why I got my CDL. So it's kind of hard to find teachers. So if anything really needs to change, I mean, some of these guys need to be compensated a little bit more. Hey, we're offering this much or so many incentives, whatever it may be, so we could get some real professional truckers to start teaching. Because I don't know any trucker that wants to be a teacher. I have not ran into one trucker on the road that wants to be a teacher. That's not what you get your CDL for. So they really got to make it worth it. So again, this whole thing about CDLs getting canceled, are they really getting canceled? Well, I mean, in due time, they're actually not getting canceled. In due time, they're just not going to be able to renew their license. And a couple of these trucking schools, they're actually getting shut down. I mean, I don't know if you guys heard, I don't know how much you guys really keep up with it, but a couple of schools across the country, the one in Florida that got shut down, there's quite a few schools that are getting shut down, and DMVs as well, for going ahead and getting these guys licensed, getting these guys approved for license. And some of these guys, like I said, the difference that I saw from all the Hispanics, from all the Asians, with these Punjabi guys, is that, and by the way, that's what they call each other on the road. So, hey, um, with them is that a lot of them got into the trucking industry, not just by trucking, but into the business as well. So there's a lot of money backing some of these guys up, and some of these guys come from, their native countries, don't speak a lick of English, and they're able to get keys to a truck. And how do they get approved to get into that truck? I don't know. One can just speculate. One can just speculate. But I will say a lot of these guys are in, insurance, trucking insurance. They're in trucking dealerships. They're in a lot of these spots, man. They have really intertwined themselves all over the trucking industry. And a lot of these actions that have been popping up, it really doesn't help their cause. So, for the ones that are like, hey, well, what about everybody else? What about the guys that actually do speak English and they're causing accidents? Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. We need better training at some of these trucking schools, and somebody needs to keep an eye, and there needs to be some sort of bar throughout the federal level for a lot of these trucking schools. There needs to be some sort of bar that has to be met. I don't know how these trucking schools work. I've heard a lot of bad stories, man, throughout my whole trucking career. Like I said, I never went to trucking school, but I've heard a lot of bad stories that you just shoot them a couple of extra bucks and they just kind of Mickey Mouse it. Boom, man, you got your license. You're on your way, Holmes. There needs to be some sort of bar. And one thing that like I said, that I've been talking about for a long time is more and more and more truck drivers that I've been coming across that do not speak any English, regardless of what language they speak, regardless of what other language they speak. I'm running into a heck of a lot more truckers now than ever before that do not speak a single word of English. That's not good. That's not good. Does it mean if you speak English that makes you a perfect driver? Heck no, it doesn't. A lot of fools out there that don't know how to drive trucks, Holmes. But we're gonna keep on having these problems. There needs to be some sort of bar. These trucking schools and trucking programs, I'm not sure how these work. Um, some of these major carriers that have these trucking programs, I can only assume that they're a little bit more legit. I don't know that. That's just me guessing. But if nobody's keeping an eye out on them, somebody needs to keep an eye out on them. Because if there's no bar to be met, if there's no audits, if there's no, okay, look, how many people graduated from your program, from your school? Okay, we are keeping them in a system. We are keeping them in data here. All right. And we're going to see how they perform. We're going to keep an eye on where they go. Dog, trucking, Holmes, you're always a trucker. You're always in the system. That I've said that. Once you're a trucker, you're always a trucker. Until you lose your CDL, you are always a trucker. When you're not driving a truck, you're still logged into your logbook. The logbook is keeping track. How many hours are you not working? You could go off on vacation to Tahiti, not thinking about trucking whatsoever, enjoying yourself, drinking a pisto, laying on a hammock, waving to, Flipper the dolphin. That ELD is tracking how much time you are not trucking. You're still a trucker, no matter what you're doing, where you're at. You're at home with your feet up, you're still a trucker. That ELD it's logging how much time you're not trucking. You are always in the system. So don't give me any of this like, well, how they supposed to keep track of that, dog? They're always tracking truckers, Holmes. You're always in the system. You drive your personal vehicle, whatever you do in your personal vehicle will cost you your license, man. So there needs to be some sort of system where it's like, okay, so many this amount of drivers graduated from your program, from your school, whatever it is. Okay, we're going to track them from your school and we're going to check out their performance at least the first 2 years, because after 2 years you're considered an experienced driver. To tighten up the grip, tighten up the bolts on some of these programs and schools, to say, look, man, if some of these truckers get into some bad accidents, and we know we cannot just be all your fault, we understand that, hey, you know what, he did good or she did good while they were in your program and they went and they screwed up. That's their problem. Yes, I understand, but some way, somehow, it still needs to come back to you. Not to say that you need to pay the penalty for them doing something foolish, but there needs to be some sort of record, some sort of track record to come back and say, okay, let's see, 5 years now. For 5 years, out of this school right here, you have had the most drivers that have had the most accidents. What's up? We got to go pay you a visit. I'm not saying shut them down. I'm not saying fine them. I'm just saying there's got to be some sort of system like that to put the fire under the ass of some of these programs where they just can't Mickey Mouse it. Hey, man, you just want to shoot me a couple of extra bucks? I'll just fast track you. Heck, ain't my problem. If you get into something, it'll be your problem. Well, if you make it some of their problem, again, it can't be all their problem, but it needs to be. They need to be held accountable to a certain degree, even if it's just small. If it's recurring over and over and over and over and over. And by the way, you run into truckers that don't speak any English whatsoever. Where did you get your CDL? What school? What program? Okay, we got to go pay them a visit. Hey, this person got their CDL from right here. How did they get their CDL if they don't speak any English? Explain to us now. There needs to be something like that. Let's see. Cholo, out of Stockton, CA, when I worked a few years. Southern schools owned by Indians and hooking up their family. Yeah, and see, that like I said, I can only speculate, but a lot of them dudes really sank their teeth into the trucking industry the way so many other people did not. Like I said, when I first got into trucking, it was a la raza, Mexico, Honduras, Guatemala, Salvador, that didn't speak any English whatsoever. But I never saw them get into the trucking industry like that. I just saw them just drive trucks. Then I saw a bunch of Asians get into trucking, but just driving trucks. But these guys, they actually got into the entire trucking industry. Trucking schools, trucking dealerships, trucking insurance. And one can only just kind of think like, okay, well, some way, somehow, they're the ones going ahead and twisting some of this paperwork around so they could go ahead and make them legit. Or not legit, but some way, somehow, get them into a truck. So, again, I don't care if you're an American citizen. I don't care if you're not an American citizen. If you don't speak any English, in my opinion, you should not be driving a truck. On top of that, speaking English, does that make you, a badass at driving a truck? No, it doesn't. But it's a step somewhat in the right direction. Are 200,000 truckers losing their license with a snap of a finger? To the best of my knowledge, no. They're just not going to be able to renew their license whenever it expires. So it's not just going to be just overnight like that. Again, that's to the best of my knowledge. Okay. And on top of that, I really think some of these trucking programs, trucking schools, they need to be audited. They need to be held accountable. There needs to be some sort of database, at least for 2 years, because most companies require 2 years experience. Most, not all. After 2 years experience, you are now known as an experienced driver. So for the first 2 years, when a driver gets out of a trucking school, out of a trucking program, they need to somehow be tracked. And don't tell me that we can't do that, because every damn trucker is tracked no matter what they are doing. You could be on the other side of the world. Your CDL is keeping track of your time. So keep track for the first 2 years. How many moving violations do you have? Do you have any accidents? Okay. 1, 2, 3, how many, right? But if you're going to have a lot of drivers coming out of the same program, out of the same school, now we need to go and take a look at that school. What's up? What's going on here? How come a lot of your drivers that graduate from your school, that come from your program, are coming up with all these moving violations, getting into all these accidents? Why? This school right here. So even truck stops. That's right. Yeah, even truck stops. You go to some of these truck stops, some of these guys they're in charge of it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm telling you, man, these guys sank their teeth into the trucking industry like I never seen anybody else. Like I never seen anybody else, man. Don't get me started, trolling trucker. Nothing but love from Nebraska. Hey, shouts to Nebraska, man. So again, just to recap, again, first of all, the heck with all politics. I don't care. You guys keep killing yourselves over left and right, red and blue. I really don't give a rat's ass, because everybody's crazy except for me, because I really don't give a rat's ass about any of that. I'm talking about trucking. That is it. That is it. If you want to say it's all intertwined, it's not that's fine. That's fine. Go pull your sword out and go fight with somebody else that disagrees with you on whatever political side they stand on. I really, for the love of God, do not give a rat's ass. All I'm talking about is when I first got into trucking 25 years ago, there was a lot of dudes, Hispanics, that did not speak any English. I didn't think anything of it because I speak Spanish, so I understood them clearly. So I didn't see a problem. Fast forward a few years later, I saw a lot of Asians that got into trucking. That's when I first thought, like, oh, okay, maybe there is a little bit of an issue. How the heck did these guys get a license if they don't understand any English? Then that's when I first heard they took it in their native language. I'm like, how does that make sense? And then I don't know what happened to all the Asians. I rarely run into Asians in trucking for a while there. They were really flooding the trucking market. I don't know where they went. And then I saw these Punjabi guys. Again, that's what they call each other on the truck. I don't know. I don't care how anybody takes it. That's what they call each other on the road. And like I said, the difference with those guys and everybody else is that those guys got into the whole world of trucking industry. Truck stops, truck dealerships, truck insurance, trucking schools. I mean, they really got into it, man. So I'll leave it right there. I said I was gonna make this video. Here it is. It was actually a live, but yeah, I mean, there it is, man. To the best of my knowledge, it's not 200,000 across the country that are losing their license. They're just not going to be able to renew their license. So we cannot have just drivers out there that don't speak a single lick of English driving, and somebody needs to come down on some of these schools. Somebody needs to keep data of a lot of these accidents, a lot of these moving violations? What schools, what programs are they coming out of? And is it coming from certain schools, certain programs? Specifically, there needs to be something out there that shows this program over here, that school over there has so many damn drivers coming out of there that have so many damn moving violations, so many damn accidents, and they need to come down on some of these programs and some of these schools. Because for many, many years, for as long as I've been trucking, I've been hearing the same thing on how shady some of these spots are that would just Mickey Mouse it if you throw them an extra C note or two so you can go ahead and just Mickey Mouse it and give you your license. You cannot be having that. So, you can't drive a big rig in America and not know English, so trucker. I agree, man. I agree. All right, I'm gonna leave it right there. As always, live your life like you're on the road. Be aware of your surroundings and always keep a safe distance. Blood makes you live. Below to makes you family. Until next time, this is Ed the Troll Trucker. Over and out.